So, hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. It is Kay the Bookworm, and if you're listening on my podcast, then welcome back to the episode. I have with me a very special guest. I found her back in when did this book come out? 2014. Yeah, I was right. 2014. It was a spinoff from another author that I've read that I told you guys about on my podcast. But if you didn't listen to my podcast yet, I was reading the Product Plan by Ashley Antoinette. And then I realized when I was on Facebook one day that somebody wrote a spinoff, and I was like, okay, let me find out. So being an Ashley Antoinette stan, like super stan at the time back then, I read the Product Plan Prodigy, and I fell in love. But I love Trina was my favorite character on the whole.
I haven't seen that book in so long. I don't even think I have a copy of that book.
Are you serious?
That's
okay,
funny.
so I read this one, and then I got her whole collection. Let me just say, if you do watch this on YouTube, I do have a whole video that I did with her. She is the first person that I mentioned on my urban series fiction haul, and I have the one and only Miss C and Phillips with me. So how are you feeling today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. If you hear rain in the background, I live in South Carolina and the weather is bipolar, so it's pouring down out here.
It's okay.
I have The Last King, which is her first official book. Then I have the second one. And then, guys, she gave me a book for my graduation. She gave me Deep for graduation, even though I was going to pay for it. She gave me Deep for free. Then I was lucky enough to be a beta reader for Hood Tales, Made for You, and Robin the Hood. And then I have Kingpin's Harlem, my favorite book by her, which is Me and My Girl. Kingpin's Los Angeles, and then her latest release, which is The Nightmare on Trap Street. FYI, all my books are officially and only produced by her, meaning that I only buy my books through her and through her only.
That's right.
All of my books are definitely autographed by her as well. So she gets all my money when she comes out with the book. So my first question is, how and why did you get started into writing?
When I was younger, I stayed in my room a lot. And in my room, like, I found literature. So I would read, and I would just read so much that I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. So I used to get notebooks, like, my notebooks from school, and I would purposely like write really tiny so I could have the rest of my notebook to just write my stories. And that's really how I got started. I would just be in my room and I would just make up some stuff, just make up some crazy story. And I'm like, I can do this. I taught myself, the sentence structure, how to, actually put together a plot, how to put together a story, how to foreshadow. Like, I taught myself how to do that by reading, So, and I was 9 years old doing that. So, yeah.
So I think, and me personally, because if you don't know, I am now a newbie author. So
yeah, I saw. Congratulations.
First round of edit just went back, so I'm waiting for them to get edited and do the second round and all that jazz. I got my book cover, and I cried once I saw it.
Yeah. It's like surreal. Yeah.
I looked at it, I was like, my mother was just like, what are you crying about? I was like, I got my book cover.
Yeah. That's something to celebrate, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, be proud of yourself.
I don't think it's hit me, but it hasn't officially hit me. I think once I actually know like the release date, I think that's when it actually hit me. I was like, damn, like, I really want to do this shit.
Yeah.
So second question is, how did you get like in contact with Ashley Antoinette at the time? Because during that time, she was huge. She had, I think, the Product Plan, I want to say Moth to a Flame was out, and as well as her and her husband with the cartel. So how did you hook up with her? If you don't mind talking.
I linked with her by Twitter. Like, I used to just, if you follow me now, I still do this, but I used to just talk shit on Twitter all the time. And the thing about me is, I'm a very humble person, but when it comes to my talent, I know I'm talented in writing. So back then I was just loud with it. Like, I was younger too. So I'm just like, I'm like the best young author right now. And, I can, I'm talking this, but I can back it up. And I would do that type of stuff constantly. And back then, you know, I would mention her and, you know, stuff like that. And when they started their publishing company, Al, I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember Al.
Yeah, she inboxed me and said, submit your story. And at that time, I was not done with The Last Kings, you know. And back then, that's when I was really just writing for passion. I wasn't signed or anything. I was just writing because I truly enjoyed it. And, you know, after she sent that email, I definitely took my time to finish my book. But it was like, you know, for me, it was like, okay, it's crunch time. I need to finish this. And that's how it happened. I submitted the book and I, you know, I waited. I don't know how long I waited, but it seemed like forever, you know, just to get what, you know, email back and, you know, that they wanted it. So that's how that happened.
Wow. So like I said, when I read this, I was just like, I need more stuff for her. And then I went on some website and I saw that you had the second book. And I remember, I think going to you directly, either on Twitter or Instagram, or maybe Facebook, I don't remember, and asking you, is there a second book? And you told me yes, but I think you said the publishing company stopped publishing it.
Yeah.
So I never got to realize what happened because you left us with a cliffhanger.
I know. So the second book to that one actually came out, but it was on Kindle only.
Oh, see, I wasn't Kindle only at that time.
Yeah, so it came out, but it never came out in paperback because at that time I had ended up resigning from the company and I signed with Urban, you know, at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I'm just gonna go straight to it. My favorite book, Me and My Girl. This gave me, I said it in my video, this gave me single white females with a damn twist.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting the main character's father to have that big of a secret. So in your mind, why did you make Jordan's fiance? I'm not going to tell if you watch my video, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
You can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
So why did you make Layla so damn crazy in this book?
So when I wrote that book, I only had maybe like the prologue and the first chapter written. That book told itself, you know. Yeah, and I'm just like, you know, I like to for me, when I write books, I try not to be biased to any of my characters. I love them all. Even her crazy ass. Like, I love her, you know, and I try and understand them. And that's why I like to give backstories to give my readers a reason why they are the way that they are, so that they can give my characters a fair chance of, I don't care if you love my main characters or if you love, you know, the side characters, but I want you to, you know, form your own, you know, judgment on them. But her ass, it was so much fun writing her. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, the shit that she did was like, oh my gosh. Like, my favorite scene in that book was in the basement of his father's home. And when she killed him, that was my favorite scene to write because it was so ominous. You know, you wouldn't even have thought, you know, that she was gonna do that or that she had, you know, what she had planned. But
yeah, but by that time, her cousin was just like, let it go.
Yeah.
At the same time, because she's like, no, I don't want to let it go. And then I like that scene, but I think the scene that really freaked me out was when Macy, I think it was either Macy and Jordan went into the closet and saw all of Macy's face structures and the receipts of her trying to do plastic surgery. That shit freaked me the hell out.
Yeah.
There's people like that.
Like, you know, with her, I feel like I times it by probably 1,000 with Leah, but I made, you know, we've all been head over heels in love with somebody, but, you know, I've also instilled in her how obsessed people are with people that they don't know. You know how social media will make you obsessed with a celebrity. You don't know them, but you're trying to emulate everything about them. You don't know them from a can of paint, but you want to look like them. You want to talk like them. You want to be them, you know? So with her, I pulled that. And my biggest thing was I knew that my readers were going to think that, oh, she wants to kill her because she wants to be with him, but that wasn't it. She wanted to kill her so she could replace her completely. She wasn't obsessed with him. She was obsessed with her, you know? And I feel like that right there was the biggest, well, not the biggest plot twist in that book, but it was a big plot twist in that book. And, you know, Yeah.
It was a big plot twist to me because I was not expecting like, and I wasn't expecting the end. I kind of was like the way you kind of ended it was kind of giving me a cliffhanger, but I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
So my question to you is: are we getting a second part to that book?
Of course, you guys. I wouldn't leave y'all hanging like that. I would never, 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 never. But when I write, I like to be in. So, say if I was to start a book and I grow, if I grow, in a month or 2 months, I'm gonna scrap all of that because I'm not that person anymore. Writing that book, my mind is sharper. I'm gonna wanna, So with that book, I've started it, and it's crazy. It's crazy, but you guys are gonna love it.
Yes, 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 yes. So my next question is: your first baby, or second baby, actually, The Last Kings. What made you want to write about The Last Kings, or have a female drug pin for that matter? Because during the time, in my opinion, when you started, when I read this book, I think this back was 2016. I think the only book that I really was focused on, honestly, before like my brain, like kind of my mind kind of exchange, like grew, was the cartel. So when you wrote about Sadie and her being like the queen of it and like holding her own, and then Mocha from what her portraying behind did, which I'm still upset about. What made you want to write about this from here to here? And then I'm gonna go ahead and get it into the Nightmare Factory in a minute.
Truthfully, because at that time, this is off the books, but that was kind of me at that point in time, not as big as she was, but and then it ended, and I'm just like, nobody's writing about female kingpins, and at that time point in my life, I hated being called a queen. I hated it. I absolutely hated it because I felt like I moved at the same magnitude as a man in all aspects, So when I wrote that book, when I started it, I was listening to Kelly Rowland Motivation. That's why the first sentence has something to do with motivation, because that's the song I was listening to. And I say this all the time, but my books write themselves. I rarely ever outline anything because it's subject to change. It always changes, it always changes.
Same way.
Yeah. I try to give myself structure as far as where I want the story to go, but as far as what's happening in the story, I really don't outline like that, just because it never works. It never works. I change everything. My characters grow, with every page. So that's why it changes. But that book saved me. And I'm not just saying, oh, it got me published, but it just gave me something to do. It kept me out of the streets. It kept me, not going out all the time. It kept me sane, So, and like I said, when I was writing that book, I didn't know if I was going to get signed. I didn't know if anybody was ever going to pick up that book. I wrote that book with the pretenses that I was going to self-publish. I was going to put it out on my own and see what happened with it. But thank God it got published, and I didn't have to put in, all that hard work. But, that book is my baby.
I love the way that you even though Sadie was a queen pin, you also made her seem that she had a softer side, because during that time, she was like so tough, and Mocha was just so. It's like it kind of worked out. It was like kind of even. Mocha was more of like the soft person, but at the same time, if she needed to get gritty and nasty, she would. Sadie was very like gritty, nasty, basically worship whatever Ray did. But at the same time, when Tyler came along, you saw that sensitive side of her. Yeah. So I love that, like the dynamic between those two. And then I also love how you made kind of interconnect with Sadie towards the end, and also Last Kingpins. At Los Angeles, I honestly cried when was it Kane? Yeah, Kane got shot. Like actually seeing after like looking through, I think it was Kane's eyes and seeing actually what happened. I cried that scene because it was really sad because he was trying to get out, and shit happens.
Yeah, when I wrote that book, first of all, I had no idea that I was going to write that book. That actually was an assignment. Usually I, say what I want to write, and my publisher is like, okay, that's cool. But that book, he emailed me and he's like, I need a book about Crips and like a Kingpins type form. So I'm just like, okay, what the hell am I gonna do? And that night, you know, I was at home. I probably was in my feelings or something. I don't know. I know I was drinking some wine. I know some wine was involved somehow. But I was on my couch and I told myself, I want to write a story backwards and forwards at the same time, and forward at the same time. And I also wanted to kill my main character. I wanted to kill my main character off. Like I said previously, I love all my characters the same. I try not to get super attached to any character, because, you know, I've read books where you can already tell that the author wants you to be biased to this character or that character. I don't want my readers to be biased at all. I want my readers to form their own thoughts on my books and form their own bonds with my characters, you know, because I feel like they're all very relatable. But with Cain, I killed him. I wrote that first chapter, and I killed him off. And after I wrote it, I remember I was crying. I'm just like, what did I just do? Like, why did I just do that? Like, oh my gosh. And I almost changed it. But I'm just like, no, this is that. Like, this is it. So, but at the same time, I felt like my readers kind of loved it more, because even though he passed away in that first chapter, he was still alive throughout the whole book, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You got to see how, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you got to see how it all led up to that, kind of like came full circle on how he died. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely like that about it. So when you read, last book I read, I read this book I think I got the book when you mailed it to me, and I think I read it in like one sitting. Mm-hmm. That good. When you started writing this book, what made you want to put all of the characters, not all your characters, the majority of your characters in one book? Was that hard to do? Because you have about like maybe 4 or 5 different characters telling the same story with different perspectives. So how was that?
That book that book is funny, because that book was not planned either at all. I had just turned in, I don't remember what book I just turned in, but right after I turned it in, Carl was like, okay, what's next? And I just jokingly said, The Nightmare on Trap Street. Like, just joking, you know? And he was like, I like it. What is it about? I need a synopsis. And I'm just like, shit, like, what the hell is this book going to be about? You know, I'm just like, the hell, you know? Because I thought he was going to call bullshit, because he's like, The Nightmare on Trap Street, but he liked it. So it took me, I want to say, literally like 2 weeks to come up with what I wanted it to be about, simply because I wanted it to be big, but I also wanted to bring back all my characters, because the one book that my readers keep asking about is the Last Kings 3, and I'm not ready to write The Last Kings 3 yet at all. There's too many stories that need to be told before I can release that book. Even though I've given a synopsis to that book, I'm not ready to release it yet. Okay. So as far as that book goes, it wasn't hard at all to bring back all the characters. I was happy to do that, simply because, you know, I haven't written about Sadie in a long time. You know, I haven't written about the Last Kings, just period, in a long time. Her and Tyler, so much has transpired since the book came out. So I'm like, you know, let me bring back some familiar faces with this book. And Deep really tied it all together, you know, as far as the cliffhanger at the end of that one. I'm just like, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to add this and sprinkle on a little razzle dazzle, and we're going to make a book. And, you know, it came out so dope. When I say I wrote that book, and I cried when I was done writing it, because I'm just like, as the author, I was so proud of myself, you know, for whipping together something like that, you know. And when I put it out, the biggest thing was that Black people don't really buy like horror books or thriller books like that. That's not generally what they go for, but that book did really well. So, you know,
me personally, when I read your books, and I can't say this about a lot of people, when I read a book, whatever book it is, I see either a TV show or a movie. Mm-hmm. And with this one, I saw a horror movie with Black people that survived.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted it to be ominous. I wanted it to be ominous, but I wanted it to be urban as well, you know, because why not?
Exactly. I do have one question. to ask you, and I don't know if your other fans asked about this, but I know I did when I did the review on this. Will Ronnie and Cedral get a spinoff story? Because their relationship was the cutest, most unexpected thing ever in this book. Like, I was rooting for them even after that one night.
Yeah. That was something that was not planned at all. I love me some Cyril. I love him so much. He's one of my favorite characters. No, you're fine. You're fine. And for me, and also let me say this as well. I don't ever get offended at however my readers pronounce the names in my books. Like, I know how I wrote them. I know what they are, but I'm also a reader as well. And when I say I've named characters in people's books, whatever the hell I want them to be, you know, but as long as I appreciate the story and the plot. But as far as, you know, Ronnie and Cyril, they just happened. I had wrote a complete different scene when they picked him up from the airport, and when she was texting him and stuff, and I deleted it because I'm just like, she needs a love interest because she doesn't have one. And Ronnie is my favorite character. She's so freaking funny to me. Yeah, she's so funny. She's a mess. She is a mess. So I'm like, let me give her somebody that kind of tones her down a little bit and kind of gets her in touch with her feminine side, because she's really that go-getter. She's a fighter. She's a shooter. And she's just funny. You know, she doesn't really take life so seriously. And Cyril does because he's lost a lot. So I'm like, they would be the perfect match for each other. And I really liked writing their date scene. It really gave me butterflies to write that scene because I'm just like, I've been in that kind of situation where it's just your first time out with somebody. You don't know how they're going to really react to you. And so, you know, it was just fun. And as far as a spinoff, I am working on a spinoff to Kingpin's LA. However, it's not of them yet. However, there's definitely going to be a book after The Nightmare on Track Street. So you're going to definitely get more of those two. For sure.
Because I like, and mom, after reading it, I was just like, how is Ronnie, even though I don't think Cyril and his baby mama are like, they're cordial, but I was just like, how is she going to react? I think you ended it with him, like with her going to LA soon. So I kind of already in my head, I like, maybe she's going to do a spinoff. And I was like, I wonder how is that going to be? Her meeting his son and then his grandma and possibly the baby mama, and how is that, if that's going to be cool or is that going to be great. And I think wait a minute, I left the book out. Came into Harlem, this book right here.
Oh my goodness.
And was this the first book that I got? No, I have two more Kingpins collect. I have the Houston one by Treasure Hernandez, and then I have the Jamaica one by Raquel. Yes, Raquel. Yeah. So love both of those books. And then this one was definitely a crazy ride, especially the beginning of the book. I had to go back like 3 times to actually understand the story because it was just like, okay, so
the plot twist in that book is crazy. Like everything coincides. Every plot twist goes with each other. So you have to really pay attention to really understand that book. Yeah, for sure.
I was reading, I was just like, okay, and then they hit me a plot twist. I was like, hold up, let me go back to the beginning, and then another one. Let me go back to where I was at. I was just like, dang, see. So why so many plot twists? And I feel like this is the most plot twisted book that you've written that I have so far. What made you have all these plot twists?
I wanted to tie everything together with that, mainly because, how do I want to say this? Like, when it comes to the Kingpins, the one thing that I've noticed, even with myself and just books that I've written, is nobody touches onto their, when I say sensitive side, I don't mean like crybaby side, but just they're humans. They have emotions, you know? And I wanted to touch base on that with each and every one of my male characters in this book. When I first wrote the book, I scratched the first manuscript, the first draft. I scratched it because this is the book I was writing when Nipsey passed away. And when I found out he passed away, which was crazy. Everybody's like, well, why would you dedicate that one to him and not Kingpin's LA? And for me, I didn't think about dedicating Kingpin's LA at all. But with this book, this is the book I was working on when he passed away, and I scratched it. And you can tell, like, the way I wrote each one of my male characters, I wrote them with emotion. Like, I was very emotional at that point in time. And I wanted my readers to be, like, mind-boggled. Every chapter, I just wanted the fear of death, the fear of something was going to happen. Something is going on, you know, with that book. But I love that book. I love Clax. He is my favorite. He is probably my favorite since Ray. Ray has been my favorite until I wrote about Clax. Clax Turner is that nigga. I fuck with him so tough. I love writing about him. He definitely is coming back for sure. That nigga plays no games at all. I love him.
He was especially the club scene.
Yeah, for sure.
He was just like, I'm here. What's up? I was like,
yeah. He's like that for sure. And I also wanted to tell the story of one thing that I've noticed, even just in my city, just everybody's trying to be the king. Everybody is trying to be the king. And I remember, I think it was Ty Marshall who said that. Shout out to Ty. He said, everybody's trying to be the king, and that's why the chessboard is so fucked up. And in my mind, when I wrote this book, that was in the back of my mind. And I'm like, okay, I want to emulate that, but flipped. And with Tron, you notice how he was trying to be the kingpin, trying to be that. But at the end of the day, that was not his rightful place. Truthfully, it was not his rightful place at all. Simply because he didn't know what the hell he was doing. He couldn't be king. You know what I mean? And basically that book and his story was showing him that it was okay to be a prince. There's nothing wrong with that at all. As long as things move seamlessly, as long as business continues as usual, you know? So that was kind of his story, you know, what he was trying to figure out the whole time while he was going for Clax's head. And I knew everybody thought the story was going to be over when they reconciled and everything was good, but it was nowhere near over at that point. So
well, got me interested for that. So my next question is for somebody who wants to start writing, and me, because like I said, I just started. I'm with you. My first book that I wrote, like I ever wrote, that was just out of my head. Like I basically like came out, just to come out. The one that is getting published now, that one came when I was at work. It was in my, like two characters came in my head. Like there's a scene in there where it came in my head, and I was just like, why is this in my head? So I wrote it out, sent it to some friends, and it was just like, I want a book. Give me a book on that. Write a book out. So I read that book. I wrote that book in like a month and a half, I believe. And my mind was focused on that and only that. I didn't go out. Well, I couldn't because South Carolina was crazy.
Yeah.
Couldn't go out. I would stay, like the thing when I signed, I told myself that I was going to submit before the new year, and I submitted it like New Year's Eve, like at that around like 12 o'clock. But I finished the book at 6 o'clock that morning. Like I stayed up like almost 12 hours finishing the book. And this book I'm writing now, anniversary. Well, I won't even say anniversary. Event that happened to me. The 1 year just passed. But last year I was in like a very, very like upset state to where like now I'm like, I'm doing not even half the shit I even told myself I was going to do last year once I let like that certain person go and like everybody else that came with him. And I realized that I'm not an outliner. I just let the words flow. Yeah. So the novella that I'm writing now, which is going to be my second book, it tells the story of exactly what happened and how I'm going to basically be pouring my energy and what I wanted to say to him through her when they have that time. So my question to you is, and for everybody like who's watching or listening, who wants to be an author, especially with, you know, everybody being saturated as of right now, what can you tell our people, like any advice on how to stand out without even being copycats or having the imposter syndrome?
The truth is, to that, what I would say is write what you want. Truthfully, there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing at all new under the sun. However, it's your voice. Your voice is what's going to make you stand out. How you tell the story, how you do that plot twist, how you foreshadow something. That's what's going to make you stand out. We've all, the story, shoot, even the Last Kings is this story. The kingpins, the antagonist tries to take them down. How your main character overcomes something is what's going to make you stand out. And how you promote, for sure. All of that, you know, I feel like just being you. Don't focus on, because for me, honestly, all the advice I've gotten in the writing world has not worked for me. None of that shit worked for me, and I'm gonna be 100 with that. That's why I don't like when people ask me my advice on writing. I tell them the most unconventional shit ever, because that's what worked for me. I don't, oh, you have to find a literary agent. I don't have a literary agent. Oh, well, you have to outline your book to, you know, all that shit is generic as fuck. How I feel is, do you, be yourself, be as organic as you can when it comes to your craft and what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, when you are done with your project, when you're reading it, you should be able to hear yourself and see yourself in your work. You know, so that's the best that I could say. And I know some people get so frustrated because I really do say that to folks, but it's like, that's what worked for me. That's what got me to where I am today. I never listened to anybody. I did what I wanted to do. You know, I got signed off of Twitter, for crying out loud. So, you know, so that's what I would say.
Oh, that's great advice. So any projects that you are allowed to tell, or any projects that you have coming for this year?
Mm-hmm. I actually have, this year, I have 2 books coming out. I have a series of 5 books. It's called The 5 Families of New York. I'm actually working on one of those right now. But I have one coming out in March 30th, something like that. I don't know. I got to check. I don't even know what the hell going on until I look. But yeah, that book is so good. Oh my gosh. When I turned it in, first of all, I was late turning it in. And oh my gosh, they were so pissed at me. So pissed at me. But when I turned it in, they sent me, after they edited, they sent me emails, and they were just so enthralled with this book. They were so like, this book is good. They're so, like, when I say they're so excited, Carl does not really text me like that. Like he trusts my storytelling abilities, that he lets me just do what I want. But with this book, he texted me and he said his team, everybody is just so excited about this. So I'm so excited for this shit to come out. I'm like, yeah, this that thing right there. So yeah, I'm ready. As far as what it's about, I can't really go into detail more than the synopsis that's available. But the story is dope. I remember he called me about it. I can tell you guys this story. He called me about it, and it was originally supposed to be me and another author doing it. And we were just gonna go back and forth. You know, I do the first one, they do the second one, I do the first one, do the second one, whatever. So I started thinking about it. I'm just like, nah, I'm not sharing this. I don't want to. And also for myself, I don't like author going based off of my work, and I don't like going based off of another author's work, simply because we're 2 different people. And when it comes to my stuff, you know, I'm very territorial, and I'm very, you know, I just don't like sharing it. So I text him, and I'm just, I want this to myself, and I just want to, you know, work on it for myself. And he told me that I could, and that's more of a reason why I'm so excited, because everybody thinks that The Last Kings is my series. And, you know, I love The Last Kings too. However, I started that when I was 19. And now that I'm 29, I'm so different. And I just want to be able to showcase my talent in other ways. And I am able to do that with The 5 Families. So I'm just so excited for it to come out. So I better get it.
Well, you know, I'm gonna be right on Twitter. Let me know when the book comes out, and you get the sign code. So, I'm sorry, Weber, how is it with him being your publisher? And another question was, with him having his own TV show on BET, do you think, now just know, it's God's way, it's God's will, if you had a choice if BET today came to you and be like, hey, CN, see you doing great with your book, and we want to do a TV show, out of all the books that I mentioned, which book would you want to be on TV?
Out of all of the books I've written, truthfully, none of those. It would be probably Nastygram or The Five Families, truthfully.
Oh, I forgot about Nasty Graham.
Yeah, girl. You can't forget about Nasty Graham.
Yeah. Oh, Lord Jesus.
Yeah.
Are we getting another book from Black?
Yes, for sure. Oh my gosh, my readers are so fed up with me about that book because I have finished it, but every time I go back and I read it, I'm like, no, this isn't it. I'm very critical of myself when it comes to writing. And if I don't feel like it's ready, I'm not going to put it out. But Nasty Gram was really supposed to come out like probably like 6 times. Nasty Gram 2 was supposed to come out like 6 times. But I canceled it because like I said, I grow as a writer every day. And not only that, but I have new experiences just in my life, period. And it's like, yeah, that would be good in the book. That would be good for Nasty Gram. So I scratch everything and I'll start over, you know. So that's that on that. But I promise I'm gonna try and put it out this year, for real, for real.
For my readers, this one for him. Just make sure you have somebody by you or a toy or something by you, because you are going to satisfy yourself after you read that book. Because Lord Jesus, I did.
Your little cuddy buddy, something for sure. I'm not even gonna lie, and this might be TMI, but writing that book, I definitely had to take breaks in between that. Yeah, because that shit is intense for sure. To go back on your question about how it is working with Carl, it's probably the best for me personally. I love it. Like, it's awesome. Like, Carl is very kind and he's good to me. I know he's like my uncle. Like, I consider him like an uncle. I know I get on his damn nerves. I know I do. Like, I'm not like a diva or anything, but if I don't like the cover, I'll text him like, I hate this. I don't like this. And he'll fix it. You know, he's very, like, when I say he's so good to me, he's so good to me, but I know I get on his nerves. I know I do. But at the end of the day, I love how he trusts me and he trusts my creativity. Like, I have full control over my creativity, and I love that he gives me, you know, that. So I wouldn't trade it for the world. I don't want to go anywhere else. I love Urban, so yeah.
Yeah, Urban has a really, really good books. I started with Urban when I read the Flint series by Treasure Hernandez. That's how far back I go with Urban.
Yeah,
I was a fan. Like, I don't have them anymore. I think I gave them away, but I think I had the entire series. And then like the prequel, A Girl from Flint, I had all of them. But that's all I knew about at the time was urban fiction. So when I started, I think about recently, like 2 years ago, like getting into like other, you know, genre books by Black people, I was like, oh, I could do this.
Like, for sure.
I could do this. And now I'm doing it. So yeah, so that was honestly all my questions. Honestly, so I just want to say thank you again for doing this. Like I said, I am a huge fan of yours ever since Fraud Plan, and when I DM'd you about, I can't believe what book it was, and I never thought at the time, I thought you was never going to DM me back, and now you're
like that. I definitely, my readers, I love y'all so much. I love y'all. I ignore everybody else, but I don't ignore y'all. I do not ignore readers.
And when you DM'd me back on Facebook, I was just like, oh, she's just so the sweetest person. And ever since then, I was just like, I'm buying all my books from you. And like I said, like when you like sent me Deep for my graduation present, I was like, I've never had that done by an author. Like, I never had an author ask me my address. And I was like, I'm giving it to you. I'm like, oh, this is your graduation. I was like, what? Like, I've never had somebody ever do that ever. Like, till this day, I still haven't had anybody do that. And I just want to say thank you, because I realized that it's always, you have to have, even though now, you have to have that special connection with your readers. You can't be too bougie. You can't be too standoffish, because at the end of the day, they're not going to read your shit.
For sure. And that's, for me, I remember everybody who's been with me since 2013 or since I started writing. I remember, like, even though sometimes I might seem a little elusive, I remember, you know, and I would never forget that, because, you know, I started from the bottom, you know, like nobody knew who I was back then. And You guys definitely make me feel so amazing, you know, in my craft. And now that I am where I'm at, I would never forget that ever, ever, ever. So I remember when I sent that book and you were just so happy. And I'm just like, why is she so happy? She supports me, you know, like, so I was like, okay, whatever. Like for me, it wasn't a, you know, super big deal because I'm just like, you really enjoy reading. And for me, of course, you know, this is how I make a living, you know, but at the same time, a lot of times I just want my readers to enjoy the stories. That's it. That is the biggest payment ever. That I can't ask for anything more, you know, so yeah.
Yes, but guys, make sure you follow her on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I have all her information on the comments below. Thank you once again for doing this. It's truly, truly a dream come true, hence the title, because it's truly a dream come true for me. Guys, once again, follow me on my social media, which is KTheBookworm_ on Twitter and Facebook. Follow the podcast Instagram, which is BH with KayReenea. Follow my Facebook. I can't think right now. Facebook group page, KayReenea Bay, so be a Bay, to get the latest on my updates when it comes to my book. Make sure you follow me on my mailing list if you haven't already. I'll leave all that in the description below. And until next time, guys, have faith, have confidence, be you, always, always love you, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.